Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of Prism Void by Violet Allen. This is a book coming out May 19th, 2026 from Little Puss Press, which is a great name. It's a sci-fi experimental fiction. It's not really a sci-fi. I received this art from NetGalley in exchange for a fair review. Extraordinarily experimental, Prism Void is, well, it's an experience. What's it about? A riotous trans enemies to lovers romantasy that roars off the page, in which a magical girl gone bad and a renegade mech pilot must find a way to stay on a date forever, even if it means destroying the world. Don't you want to help them? This book is deliberately obtuse and experimental. When it comes to experimental, for the purpose of this review, I mean in the most basic sense that the book is not written in a straightforward manner, but breaks the fourth wall in terms of reminding the reader that they are reading, that their process of reading is part of the experience, and it does this stuff by messing with formatting, which is actually called ergodic literature, which is neat. Uses colors for thematic emphasis, or it employs different mediums, such as piano music. Experimental fiction has existed for a long time. There's the book Tristram Shandy, which I admit I own, but I have not read. I bought it in university, and I still haven't read it. It's been like 20 years. But, I mean, it's something you have to kind of expect. It will be some work, and I am tired. But experimental literature is like a more of a movement, kind of took off right before postmodernism, so sort of the late 40s. It's almost like it was the start of postmodernism, and then postmodernism kind of pulled it back and was like, well, we need things to be actually understandable. It's books that play with the actual format and structure of the work to add extra meaning. For example, you've got your mainstream stuff that's somewhat cryptic but pretty easy to follow, like House of Leaves, for example. Like, it's got some weird stuff like this, but it's not... It follows a standard story for the most part. It's not, like, confusing in the sense that you don't know what's going on. Or even books like XX, which I read a couple of years... I think I reviewed it on this channel. It's also got kind of some interesting stuff in it. Like this, or it's got, like, weird crap like this in it. The other book another of Daniel Lewski's books, the guy that wrote House of Leaves, is wild. This one, I actually haven't read it. I tried to read it a couple times. Oh, it was a bookmark. I don't think I got this far. But it's two stories told on, like, different sides. I can't see my camera, so I can't see if you can see this or not. This way? Yeah. Okay, like that. So it's, like, two different stories on the margins. Then you have to flip it over. So the page numbers are on each side of which page number you're on. It's kind of cool. I kind of want to read it again. I tried it years and years ago, and I never kind of got into it. So, again, it's kind of, like, hard to read. So you really have to be prepared for that and, like, in the mood for it. I've read classics like Ulysses and If on a Winter's Night a Traveler, as well as, like, some other ones. There's this one called S that I wanted to show. I think I've talked about this one before on my channel, too. So it comes in this cool box. I got this years ago randomly at, like, Chapters Indigo. And what's cool is that it's one story, and it has these little, like, postcards and stuff in it. But it's a whole other story in the margins, but, like, a love story between these people that are talking back and forth while renting out the book. So it's really fun, because you've got the main story that they're annotating, and then there's all of these, like, postcards and things that are, like, their love story. So it's that, I really like that one. Anyway, so why am I rambling about this? Because Prism Void has so many facets of experimental literature within it. It plays with colors. It maintains a stream of consciousness prose at times. There are poems, there's plays, there's pictures, there's odd formatting of pages, there's footnotes that are really fun. It's not clear who the author is addressing at all, and there's piano music. If the book school was to be cryptic and weird, it definitely succeeded. I have a feeling this was the goal. This book, despite having some darker moments, is sort of gleeful, but in, like, a manic way. It's like, I don't know, it's like everything in this book is on Molly. The main character is an absolute menace of a person, and she is as weird as the book. I can't really tell you what the book is about, as the plot is not very definitive. I'm still not 100% sure I got what the book was throwing down, to be completely honest. And a lot of the situations seem to have no bearing on other parts of the book. I do wonder if that's intentional, as there's a big element of kind of, like, multiverse in this story, and it jumps back and forth in time, so of course things probably seem a little bit just disjointed. So I would argue that the story isn't really kind of enemies to lovers, though I guess that kind of happens, though not really chronologically, so you don't really get that kind of trajectory. But it's definitely a story of opposites attracting. Acracia is sort of a witch, or I guess more like a muse, as her cousins, who are also kind of witch goddesses, have other artistic specialities, so that reminded me of muses in that way. Despite the book explaining how to say Acracia's name, I'm probably still saying it wrong, and so I looked it up on Google, and I was reminded that Acracia is also the name of one of the fairies in Edmund Spenser's massive poem, The Fairy Queen, which I own. Have I read all of this? Absolutely not. I had to get it for university years ago, and we read the first like canto or something. I think their first book, and then all the cantos in the first book. Is this the one that has like there's like a woman knight? I think so. I think that was the only part that we read. Anyway, maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Anyway, Acracia in this book, she is the goddess of uncontrolled desires and the lack of moral restraint and excess, and that matches really well with Acracia in the story. So I have a feeling that that was deliberate. If so, well done. I love like a deep reference like that. And that's the kind of fun thing about this book, is that there's so many kind of random references and stuff and allusions to other texts, and things have alternate meanings and separate meanings, and that really ties into the kind of multiverse idea. It's really smart in that way. There are a lot of pop culture references, though, that I found were a bit kind of too much because I didn't pick up on any of them. Well, at least not most of them anyway. There's probably a whole bunch I didn't even notice I wasn't picking up on. But I've mentioned this in another video about how like there's just so much of our pop culture right now. It's hard to know everything. In fact, no one can know everything. Back to the love story. Given that she has magic and is very artsy and is very pretentious, and Opus is a cyborg space traveler, they are the opposites in terms of, I guess, like the sci-fi fantasy spectrum, which I thought was really fun. Yet they're the couple. I thought that was actually in itself raising an interesting question, perhaps, you know, blended with the experimental aspects, like their love with compressing the disparate parts of the multiverse together because they're from different angles of it. I don't know. There's a lot you could get out of this book. I think you could like dig really deep into it. When it comes to the characters themselves, they're interesting. The book is very queer, which is really fun. Acracia herself is a trans woman. She's very pretentious, as I said, but her friends all call her out on it all the time, which very much softens that aspect of her, because she's a lot. Her cousins and friends are very fun, though, a very ride or die group. Unfortunately, Opus really grated on me. I don't know. Acracia calls him an asshole a lot, and I think she's 100% right. Like, he's kind of softened over time, but more like, you know, the time jumps make you see him in a different light, but I still didn't like him. As such, I didn't really care too much about them staying together, despite the, like, threat if they didn't. I was just kind of like, get rid of this guy. Now, while I found the experimental stuff in the book very fun and interesting and very smart, there are long passages of dialogue with no action beats. I had trouble with this because a good part of banter, I find, are the micro expressions and moments that turn a comment from snide to snarky, from face value to innuendo. Without this, it's just kind of like bobbing heads, which I found made me lose interest. So the parts that I thought I would find actually the most interesting when these two kind of hot-headed individuals kind of butt heads, I found were like the least interesting part for me, unfortunately. I suppose I really enjoyed how the book took a big risk at doing something so experimental. I really liked the concept, and it was occasionally quite funny, but I didn't connect to the main plot as I was lukewarm about Opus, so I think that was kind of one thing that kept me from like really loving it. Also, it is hard to read. It's complex. To really kind of grasp it, I probably would have to read it again and maybe even a third time because it's just so layered. It has so much going on. It rambles a lot, a very stream of consciousness. It talks about some stuff that people might be uncomfortable with. It's like, I didn't care, but like, like kind of stuff like, gratuitous things. And, it's the book is a lot, but I think it would really appeal to people that really like experimental fiction. So yeah, if you're looking for something just wild and out there, I definitely recommend it for that. Anyway, thanks.